Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verses 21 to the end. Etam bhukva swargalokam vishalam क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्ममनुप्रपन्नाः गतागतं कामकामारभन्ते अनन्या चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम् येऽप्यन्यदेवता भक्ताः यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्य विधिपूर्वकम् अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्तेनातश्च्यवन्ति ते यान्ति देवव्रता देवान् पितॄन् यान्ति पितृव्रताः भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्याः यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम् पत्रम् पुष्पम् फलम् तोयम् यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्युपहृतम् अश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः यत्करोषि यदश्नासि यज्जुहोषि ददासि यत्तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत्कुरुष्व मदर्पणम् शुभाशुभफलैरेवम् मोक्ष्यसे कर्मबन्धनैः सन्न्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो मामुपैष्यसि समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु न मे द्वेष्योऽस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि तेषु चाप्यहम् अपि चेत् सुदुराचारः भजते मामनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यग् व्यवसितो हि सः क्षिप्तं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति मां हि पार्थव्यपाश्रित्य देहि पापयोनयः धियो वैश्याः तथा शूद्राः ते यान्ति परां गतिम् किं पुनर्ब्राह्मणाः पुण्याः भक्ता राजर्षयस्तथा अनित्यमसुखं लोकम् इमं प्राप्य भजस्व माम् मन्मना मम भक्तः मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामैवैष्यसि युक्तैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः
सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति। Having enjoyed that vast world of heaven, the punya exhausted enter the world of mortals. Thus abiding by the injunctions of the three Vedas, desiring objects of desires, they attain the state of going and coming. Kama kamaha, the desiring objects of desires. So what they do, they follow the injunctions of the Vedas. He says they follow the injunctions of the Vedas. What he is referring to is they follow the karma portion. Karma portion in the sense you live the life as per the instructions of the dharma. You lead a very dharmic life. So, injunctions of the Vedas means karma portion, karma kanda portion. Karma kanda portion means not like what we understand as just doing rituals. See, they live to do rituals, not once in a while doing rituals. See that? That is a difference. One is, you also do rituals. Right? You can't say, I am following karma kanda portion. In and through your activities, you do rituals. Yes, what he is referring to is people who live. This, dietitians give advice, no? You eat to live. Right? You don't live only to eat. That's what it is. Meaning, they live their life on the instructions given by the Vedas. What is the instructions of the Vedas? What is that? Dharma. First, you have to get the instructions. What is the first instruction? Is dharma. Follow the dharma. Whatever dharma is given to each one. Obligations. So they live their life only to perform their obligations. So when you replace it, they live to do the ritual, means they live their life only to perform obligation. Now we have to ask this question, are we doing that? For us, obligations are, duties are pain in the neck. But for these people, what is that? It's the pleasure of life. Life is to be lived for obligations, duties. What is the duty? Dharma. What is the dharma? Opposite of adharma. Adharma we can understand easily. We are all very familiar with it. Dharma only we get confusion. Sir, please tell me what is dharma. As though you have understood what is adharma. If you have understood adharma, opposite. Simple life. What is adharmic? Selfishness in life is adharmic. Opposite of that is unselfishness, which is dharmic. So what they do? They do all unselfish actions. In fact, they live their life only to perform unselfish action. He is living for that purpose. Such a person is the one those people who have been following like this. But only problem is what is the next word. The first one, no problem. Abiding by the injunctions of the Vedas, this is what it is. This is correct. But then they don't put a full stop there. They add something to it. What is that they add? Desiring the objects of desire. Meaning, they have converted that unselfish ideal into unselfish desire. So once you start performing actions propelled by your unselfish desires, result is different. What do you get? Punya you get. You get punya. With that punya, what you do? What happens with that punya? That punya takes you to Swargaloka. The previous verse. Right? Swargaloka. And you go to that Swargaloka, which is of what type of Swargaloka? Vishalam. Not a small one. So, you interpret it as what? One is taking it as it is. You go to Swargaloka, that's it. Where are you right now? You are in Bhuloka. Then you go to Swargaloka. And what is that Swargaloka? Vishalam it is. What is the difference between people living in Swargaloka and people living in Bhuloka? What is the difference? The difference is they order pleasures by the sheer sankalpa. All that they have to do is wish. They wish. The wishing and happening is parallel. It goes together. Right? You wish to get gold medal. Instantly you don't get it. You have to work, and then qualify, and cross over very many politics, and then finally go into the competition. In the competition, they have rounds, cross all that, and then you get qualified for the finals. In that finals, if you win, you can cross over all this and come there, then gold medal. In Swargaloka, it's not like that. All that you have to do is what? Sankalpa matrena. All that you have to do is just sankalpa is enough. Just the wish is enough. Will be gold medal. Fine, it will be handy. Yes. That is Swargaloka. Quality is superb. Imagine, no? You think of Rolls Royce is there. Right? Think of profit is there. Think of is there. The problem only is what? You think of something negative, that also comes. But generally these people will not think anything negative. Devas. Those who live there, those citizens were called Devas. Citizens of Devaloka are called Devas. Citizens of India are called Indians. Same way. Citizens of Devaloka are called Devas. Oh. Devas, don't ask me. Who are Devas? The citizens there, whoever live there. But only problem with that citizenship is only visitor visa. Devaloka has only visitor visa, including who? The Queen of England doesn't have a passport. She doesn't have a passport. Passport is why? She is the one who is issuing passport. She can't issue passport to herself. It looks redundant like that. In Indraloka, including Indra is what? Visitor visa. The difference is like UK issuing visa and US issuing visitor visa. UK issuing visitor visa, maximum period is what? 6 months. Right? US, 10 years. When they issue visa, for 10 years. UK also can get for 10 years visa. Not that you can't get for 10 years visa, but you have to pay for 10 years of application. Right? 10 application amount you pay, they will give you for 10 years. So that much you got to pay. Devaloka is like UK. And pay. If you pay for 100 years, they will get 100 years of visitor visa. Multiple entry. Can keep going and coming, going and coming, going and coming, going and coming. There's no problem. But no one in that loka has a permanent citizenship. That is the definition of Devaloka. Heaven. At least in this sampradaya. Right? Every sampradaya has got their own description of heaven. Here it is not. Whereas if you go to this Purva Mimamsa, in Purva Mimamsa, ultimate you can get is heaven. And going to heaven is treated as moksha. In Vedanta, you say Swargaloka is not moksha. Why? Gata, agata. Going, coming. What happens there? You go to that heaven, you live there for how long? Vast period of time. And then come back. Come back where? Come back to Martyaloka, world of mortals. Come back to this world, is what he says. Martyalokam Vishanti. They enter into the world of mortals. World of mortal means this Bhuloka. You fall into this Loka. You come back to this Loka. At least Krishna says this. Mundaka Upanishad goes even worse than that. He says, Heenataram va Vishanti. He says, you don't come to this world, no guarantee. You can even go to lower than that. See, that is the tragedy. Upanishads are far more direct. They speak the truth, uncompromising. See, at least Krishna here is little diplomatically puts it. You come back to this, you say, Appa, that's okay. Whereas Mundaka goes one step above. Says, no, you don't come to this, you go even to inferior lokas, says Mundaka. So, there is no guarantee. Why there is no guarantee? Because what sort of a karma is going to be fructifying to decide your next life is not in your hands. You can't decide that. So, if that sort of a karma were to come in, what will happen? You will take birth as a lower beings. You can take birth as an animal or a plant. Or you can even take birth as an object also. Simply lying there. You are extremely tamasic. This is what one man told. If you are going to be living out of father-in-law's money, next Janma is what? You will be born as Parangi Malai, he said. Chennai, a mountain. Here is what? Nandi Hills. In Bangalore means you will be born as Nandi Hills. You will be there for how long? You are there. People have to come and blast you. Every time you get blasting, what you have to understand? Tamasic. I have been living my life in such deep-rooted tamas. I can be shaken only with the blast. Stamping is not enough. Blasting is needed. That is what Mundaka says. Krishna is not saying that. Krishna is very refined. So he says, all that will happen is what? You will come back to Matyaloka. Matyaloka is, Loka which is full of the cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. You will be coming back again and again to this lifestyle. This next vasana will decide your birth. Now you may wonder, okay, so what? Our problem is, okay, I'll come back. So what? The problem is to digest the fact of life. Remember, the truth of life is, if you were to derive pleasure from the association with an object, repeat, by contact or by association with an object or being, if you are to be deriving pleasure, then you will be subjected to pain from non-association, disassociation. Association gives you pleasure, means disassociation, pain. Right? In heaven you are having pleasure. By what? By association. Isn't it? Like that you are getting things. Like this everything was happening. Right? You see this to all those people who are retirement. This government office. People, they retire. Next day, what is he? Collector, High Court judge, retired. What is he next day morning? Nobody. Who will go to him? Who will go to the collector? Will anyone stand in queue to give their appeals to him? Will there be security walking up and down with him? Everyone will leave. If he were to be deriving pleasure from the position of a collector, by the retirement, what will happen? The intensity of pain that he would be experiencing is directly connected to the pleasure. Anything that gives you more pleasure by association, by disassociation, it has to give equal pain. You can't escape. Now you read Gata Gatam. You go to heaven and come back. Only option will be what for you? Hey, I rather go to hell, man. Hell is better because when I come back from hell, I will feel what? Relief. Birth in coming to Bhuloka will appear as what? Relief to you. Whereas coming from heaven to earth will look like torture. And you know what? The problem doesn't stop here. The problem is, it's exactly like those who suffer from that withdrawal symptoms. See, you got addicted to a pleasure. Now, for a long period of time, you have been associating with the pleasures. Obviously, what would have happened to you? You would have got addicted to that pleasure. Okay. Now, you are suddenly pushed into this Mrityaloka. Right? You missed it. What will happen to you? You will feel a sense of missing, isn't it? Then what he will do? He has to again slog. He will say, what? My God, I lost it. Somehow I am going to, somehow I have to get that cigarette. Somehow I have to get that alcohol, drug, whatever it is. Any addiction you get into. The best example is drug. That's about it. Don't think it is only drug. It is any addiction. For example's sake, I am using. Right? So when a person gets that withdrawal symptoms, that withdrawal symptoms is what? It's not available to him. That's all. So now what he will do? He needs money to buy that drug. He's not having that money. So what he will do now? He will go to any extent. For what? To get that money, buy the drug and get that kick again. Again what will happen? Will get over. Again not available. Again what is going to be the case? Withdrawal symptoms. Again what is he going to do? Do more effort. More crime. More wrong actions. I mean, he will go even to doing wrong actions. I'm not saying he has to do the wrong actions. If he cannot, what he will do? He will go to any extent. For what? He will go to any extent not to win a gold medal. Right? He will not go to any extent to learn the Vedas. No. He will go to any extent, put in effort, get that money only for what? For the drug. Same rule is applied to heaven also. That is what he means by gata gata. You come, go. Come, go. You go, come back. You go there, come back and do what? That is a catch. When he says gata gatam, going and coming. Why did you go there? You went there because of punya. How did you gather that punya? Lot of unselfish action. Unselfish activities you have to perform to gather that much of punya. You gathered little. For that little, you went to heaven and what did you do there? Enjoyed the pleasures of heaven fast. What happens to the mind? It's addicted to that. Once it gets addicted to that, and suddenly when your punyas are exhausted, you are kicked out. When you are kicked out, what happens? You come back. What will you do now? Again you will do what? Unselfish action, gather punya, go to heaven. Again what is going to happen? Kick you. Come back. This is called the samsara. Going to heaven, coming back to earth is called the samsara. Again birth, again death, when he says, he is not simply taking birth. Because every birth of yours is it's a struggle, it's a pain. So much of effort you put in. For what you are putting in all that effort, not to go and come back. Only for that purpose, he says. So what is that, sir? Do that karma, get that phala, get that punya, enjoy that phala, and then get another janma. Next janma, what do you do? Again do karma, get punya, enjoy the phala, and then janma. This. You are not doing anything different from a drug addict. How else these masters will look at you? Imagine, they look at a fellow who is the way we look at a drug addict is the way the scriptures look at us. You idiots. Pramudaha, says Mundaka. Who are those fellows who do all this? He says, Pramudaha, double PhD. Pramudaha means double PhD in Mudatvam. Isn't this a PhD? Na?
Two questions. So, if I gather more punya, then am I likely to suffer more when I come back? Because the pleasure I am seeking is that much more. One. Secondly, if you continue going in this cycle, what is the likelihood that you are actually devolving and not even staying at the same
Yeah.
but you are becoming worse each time?
Yes, every time when you are coming back, how desperate you become. That's why I gave the example of a drug addict. Once he gets addicted, every denial, every time he is denied, how desperate he becomes to get where? To get back to that drug only. Nothing else will satisfy. That is called deterioration. Because what you are missing, so much of effort you put in and earn, and miss it and use it for what? Use it for what? Ocean's 11, you saw? Right. After that, Ocean's 12. What is the starting of Ocean's 12? Ocean's 11 ended with what? A fellow having a Ferrari, this one, that one, and all that. 12, what happened? More desperate, back to square one. Right? 12, what they have to do? Go for bigger. Bigger means bigger one. Ocean's 13. Come back to square one. Where they were, the beginning of Ocean's 11 is the same point they have come to in the beginning of Ocean's 13. Ocean's 14, they couldn't make it. Fast and Furious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time you see the risk factors where unbelievable risks they have to take. Now I think Ocean's 11, no, not Ocean, this Fast and Furious 10. They are going to drive car in the space. I can't believe how can a man hold a flight and get inside. Is it ever possible by, I'm not talking about Spider-Man, Superman, Avengers and all that. All are fantasy. Right? But Mission Impossible is not a fantasy. Because we think, what is that, Agent? What's his name? Hunt. He's real. He's normal man. He's like one of us. But that fellow does what? The flight has taken off and it is already there. He is hanging and he goes inside the flight. A tough competitor for Rajinikanth. Rajinikanth won't do all that. Rajinikanth's way of handling is very different. Like a cowboy, he will throw a rope, catch the flight and tie it to the tree. This fellow does all that in 1920 he is doing. Rajinikanth has done that in 88. They are all old stories. Actually, he does that. I'm not joking. There's a movie called Maaveeran. 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 Climax. Hero will escape with the helicopter. He will take a horse with the rope. He will throw the rope and tie that helicopter to a tree. Right? If Rajinikanth doing when I say, you are laughing. Tom Cruise panna okay va? Fraud. This is a better action hero. Tom Cruise na child. Is it possible? It is impossible. Why they have to present like that? Every time they do so much of effort they put in and go there only to come back to that same position, and every time that effort is increasing. This is called deterioration. What is deterioration? To achieve the same result, I have to put in more effort. What is it? And with reference to the first question, your pleasure that you are experiencing, you fall from that. You can't digest. It's too much. It's like a man who has lived a life of certain quality. He loses that and falls back. It is torture. You just can't digest it. Same problem for us. In heaven, remember, you can only spend. There is no possibility of earning. You are allowed only to spend. No earning. No one can earn. All that you can do there is what? Spend it. No karma there. No effort. No kartritva possible. Only bhokta possible. There is only bhokta. There is no karta in heavens. That is why once it gets exhausted, you have to come back here. Because you can't earn there. So where you have to earn? Come back here and earn. And the inflation keeps on increasing every time you come back. Money value is dropping. Dollar is increasing. So what you have to do? With the same money, you cannot the same thing. So what happens? Same 100 rupees is not 100 rupees. Drops. Same way. But your effort to earn has to increase. But what you are going to get is the same pleasure. Again you will go to heaven. You will enjoy. For how long? Till you exhaust the punya. And then come back. Go. Every time going, coming is a pressure. Remember. What is the pressure? You have to become more and more desperate. And the desperation will always increase tension. Whenever you become desperate, it is painful. There is no desperation, there is no problem. Desperation is the problem of samsara. So he says, you go and come. They attain that state of going to heaven, enjoy the pleasure, get acclimatized to it or get addicted to it, then come back. When they come back, the problem is what? Withdrawal symptom. Because the law of life is, if you are going to be deriving pleasure from association, disassociation will cause pain. You can't escape. Right? 20, 21, 22.
अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो माम् ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम् अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो माम् ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्.
To those persons who worship me thinking of nothing else, to those ever seeking union, I grant them yoga, union and kshema, supreme bliss. This is supposed to be the geometric center of the Bhagavad Gita, even though it is not the center actually. It's slightly off center. This is now in the middle, 18 chapters, the middle 9th chapter, in the middle of 9th chapter. So this. But it is not literally this one, but it is because of the idea. The idea that he is communicating here is the central theme of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is one of the ways in which these classical literatures present themselves. The message gets communicated in the very beginning, and the message gets communicated in the end, and the message gets communicated in the middle also. So one of the ways in which we analyze what is the author trying to communicate, for which what you have to do, see what he says in the beginning, what he says in the middle, and what he says in the last. If the tree were to be consistent, that is the message. What is giving in the beginning, what is given in the middle, what is given. Now here, what is the central idea is this. So it's not actual center, but it is slightly off center. This is. Bhagavad Gita has got 701 shlokas. 350th shloka is what we are supposed to be taking as this. 51. Now this is 59. Right. 359th verse this is. So it's not actual center, but because of the idea, it becomes a center. See? So it says, what is the idea? 2 points he gives. In the verse 20 and 21, he referred to people who have Sakama Bhakti. Right? Now he is talking about Nishkama Bhakti. Those who don't have any, their devotion doesn't carry any desires. Any desires in the sense, any time we discuss about desires, immediately you got to add within brackets desire for the immediate. Because desire is always for the immediate. For the distance, you can never have a desire. Right? Think of all your desires. Is there any desire that you can think of which is distanced? In terms of anything, in terms of space or in terms of time? Distance. You cannot. It has to be immediate. It has to be as close as possible to you. You cannot think of anything beyond it. Even if you have to say, I'm going to think of my whole country, that also has to be what? My country. My God. My this. My. It has to be what? Closer to me. Distancing from you, it is not possible to desire anything. If you can conceive something distance from you, that is called a goal. That's not a desire. My company, profit for my company. Nothing wrong in that. I'm not saying it is wrong or anything. But when you say that profit, it has to be my company's profit, not my industry's profit. We are in a particular field. I am in a particular business. Let's say I am in the software export business. Right? He says, let the software export increase. Let the government give more support and subsidy for that. Why I am asking for that? So that my company, when it exports, I will get profit. Isn't it? Imagine you have moved out of that business. Right? You have sold all your shares from that business and you have invested that money in garment. There is a startup, garment startup, or there is a retail startup business. You have invested your money there. Now you will shout for what? Software export, or you are going to be thinking of garments, retail. Which immediately your thing will switch over to this industry. There also it has to be what? Only with reference to mind. This is called immediate. See, it has to be connected to me. If it is not connected to me, mind, no desire is possible. Right? Which is what? Arthakama. So, desire, when we say, Sakama Bhakti, when we say, what is the meaning? It means, I am desiring. What are you desiring? Immediate. What is immediate to me? My acquisitions and my enjoyment. What I can acquire, what I can enjoy. If something were to be happening beyond my acquisition, something were to be happening independent of my enjoyment, then what is it? It is of no consequence to me. It is just an information. Isn't it? Like an Indian father was whacking the child because he got B plus. Neighbor's child got A plus. In in a test. He got so annoyed. Tired. The wife came and gave one to the husband. Wife, blood test. Both of them went to blood test. This fellow got B plus, that fellow got A plus. What will you do? The blood test you can do. This fellow's argument is what? Even if it is blood test, my son should get A plus all the time. Off cases. The same off cases which you say, my desire. Artha kama. Desire means what? My acquisition and my enjoyment. So sakama bhakti means devotion with desire. Meaning devotion with the desire for my acquisition, my enjoyment. That is called the sakama bhakti. Opposite of that is nishkama bhakti. What is that nishkama bhakti? Desire, no desire. Nishkama means no desire. No desire for arthakama. Nishkama bhakti means no desire for arthakama. That acquisition could be tangible, intangible. The acquisition could be something which is with reference to the body, or it could be with reference to your emotions, or it could be with reference to your thoughts, your values. It could be anything. Right? But essentially it is acquisition. That's it. Health. Health is no problem. Health is a problem. So you go to God for what? Health now. What is it? Sakama bhakti. 21, 20. Sakama bhaktas. What is their position? Is explained. Now in verse 22, he is explaining what is the position of a Nishkama bhakta. What is this Nishkama bhaktas? Nishkama bhaktas is, look here. What agenda with which I have to perform that unselfish action? Right. Dharma he has already learned. Okay. So Dharma is already there with him. Dharma means what? He is following the Vedas. He is following the Vedas means he is following the Dharma. Dharma means rituals. Rituals means Dharma. Dharma means unselfish. So he has understood the value that I am supposed to be performing unselfish action. That he has understood. But then, that unselfish actions that I am performing, I have the choice of what? I have the choice of deciding the result. I decide. Based on my decision, God will grant. What I desire, He will grant. Because God on His own has no power. Remember, God doesn't have the power to bless. We all think God has a power to bless. He doesn't have anything. All that He goes on repeating is only one. What is the job of God? He goes on saying only one thing from His side. What is that? Tatastu. So be it. So be it. So be it. Now, it is in your hands to go and ask Him what you want. See? He will not decide on His own. What you ask, He will give. So God is not having a power of His own. He will not decide. You have to decide what you want, what you should get. Right? If you decide that I want only Arthakama, he says what? Ask. You will get it. Where you will go to heaven. There. Now, if you decide that I want moksha, not Arthakama, I want moksha, then also you are following the Vedas only. Only difference is what? The difference is not in the action. The difference is what is it that you are seeking. See, that's why in the beginning of every ritual, we perform thing called sankalpa. For what you are doing this? What is the idea with which you are performing the ritual? To who you are doing? Right? When you go to the temple, this priest will ask, Archana to be done. Whose name? You heard people saying, in God's name. You heard? You are doing Archana to God, for God. He said, Petal. Doesn't make sense. See, you do puja to God, why? So that He will bless me. Right? Because I am inferior and He is superior, He has all the powers, I don't have the power of blessing, only He has the power of blessing. With that belief only I am going to God. Now suddenly, this man comes and says, do puja to God, for God. Now who is supposed to bless? I have to bless myself. There is no meaning in that. You see, what are they saying there? That's what every ritual in the beginning, we say what? Parameshwara Prityartham. Why I am performing this ritual? For the preeti, for the pleasure, for the satisfaction, for the joy of Parameshwara, for the Lord. Whatever the Lord is. But not for my pleasure. That is for sure. And finally what you say, you complete all that. Finally the fellow says what? He says, Krishnarpanamastu. Yes, all this is done for what? Krishnarpanam. So you are performing the action for the pleasure of Parameshwara and you are going to get the result. The result will come. Now you can't say result will not come. Result will come. That result, what are you going to do? You have a choice. Remember, there are two choices. Choice number one is with what attitude I am going to perform the action. Number one. Number two, independent of my attitude, the quality of my action will produce a result. Isn't it? Whether I teach with the attitude of communicating the knowledge or I teach with the attitude of my bank balance, that is different. But the ability to communicate, to teach, that skill of teaching is going to produce a result. Whatever the result is, depending upon the quality of that, result will be. If you go back with the understanding of verse 22, one result. You go back with the total confusion of verse 22, another result. Depends on the skill. But whatever the skill of my teaching, ability, result will come. I have a choice now to aggrandize the result or offer it back. Not too much. I have to speak your language. You start a business, you get a profit. What do you do with the profit now? You have two choices. What is that? You can immediately go on, spend it, blow it up, or reinvest it in the business. Correct. If you reinvest it in the business, what happens? It grows. Again, what you do? Reinvest it in the business. It grows. Again, what you do? Reinvest in the business. Suddenly, your auditor will call you and say what? It is a sensible thing to buy a car because you are paying more tax, because more profit are showing. You see, sensible thing to do will be what now? Buy a car now. How you buy a car? The first fellow also would have bought a car, second fellow also buying a car. But there is a world of difference between the first one and the second one. That's Sakama Bhakti, Nishkama Bhakti. At least this you should understand. If you say this also I don't understand, I don't know what to do. What you do? You perform action, you have a choice of with what attitude you are going to perform action. Right? If you perform action with the goal of Arthakama, it is Sakama, unselfish, desire-ridden activity, philosophically. Devotionally, we call it as Sakama Bhakti. Right? Then, desireless, without a desire propelling your unselfish ideal. Then you will ask, okay, then what is propelling that? The idea of liberation, freedom, moksha. That is the goal with which you perform the same action. So, first person also performs the same action, second person also performs the same action. There is a difference in the result, and the nature and the quality of the result varies. That is what this verse says. There is what you have to do, you do this. Those persons who worship me thinking of nothing else. Ananya Chintan. No other thinking. Chinta means thinking. Anya, other. Ananya, no other. No other thinking. You are not thinking of anything apart from me. Right? In Sakama, what are you doing? In Sakama, you are thinking not of God. There, you are treating God as a means. Right? God is not the end for you. God is the means for a Sakama Bhakta. 21. 22, Nishkama Bhakti. What is it, sir? There is no other thought. There is no other thinking. The first layer. First layer of understanding. What is the first layer of understanding? Very simple. No other God. You are not thinking of anything other than God. So, all that thinking with reference to Arthakama gets displaced with the thought of God or thought of moksha, whatever. If you are a devotional person, you will call it as God. If you are intellectual, you will call it as moksha. That's all. Both are same thing. So when he says, what is that you are saying is there is no other apart from the thought of Ishvara. You just have the thought of Ishvara alone. And he is the end for you. So all these things becomes a means and he becomes the end. Moksha becomes the end. All that you are doing here, all that you are acquiring here, all that you are enjoying here, all this is just a means, intermediary. It has to be a stepping stone to get that. For a Sakava Bhakta, what is ultimate end? His security. If he is going to feel secured with this God, he will go to this God. If he is going to be feeling secured with something else, he will go there. If astrology is going to give him security, he will go to astrology. Right? If Vastu is going to give him security, what he will do? He will forget about grahas, he will forget about his horoscope, all that. He will go to, because Vastu doesn't ask your horoscope. Have you ever seen any Vastu person? I've never, consulted, I had spoken to few experts. I asked them, sir, when you go and do a Vastu analysis of a house, do you ask the horoscope of the owner? And suppose if there are two people who are owners, appo yaroda horoscope? Joint ownership. Appo yaroda? Inherited. Right? The fellow has 4 sons. They have inherited the property. Now, if you have to do that Vastu analysis of the place, whose horoscope you will take into account? 4 different horoscopes. Rama horoscope is different. Lakshmana horoscope is different. Bharata horoscope is different. Shatrughna horoscope is different. Now, if you are going to be studying Ayodhya's Vastu, whose horoscope you will take it about? He says what? That is why we don't take horoscope at all. Land is one, no. We will analyze only land. But then in that land, they have made a plot, allotment, and they divide. When they are dividing, they have to put road. They make a road. Now suddenly this fellow says, now how will you define that? Will you take the entire layout, Vastu, or you are going to be taking? Now who decided that? Which one you will take? Out. This one. If you believe in that, what you will do? You will forget about Manjunatha Swami. And then what is that? Subramanya Swami. Okay, Subramanya, you forget. Suddenly Subramanya becomes so important when marriage is not happening. What to do? Go and do one. Sarpadosha is there for you. Go and do one. Now he will go and do it. It is so interesting. See. Even then marriage is not happening. Now what will you do? In fact, what you should do is file the case on the guy. You only said, do Sarpadosha. I have done that. That means it must have been gone now. Now it should facilitate the marriage. No. Is it happening? If it is not happening, so you are not interested in Subramanya, you are not interested in the Nagadevata, you are not interested in Vastu Purusha, you are not interested in Shani, Rahu, Ketu, Surya, you are not interested in any one of them. Your interest is where? My security, my contract, my marriage, my house, my pleasures. This is Sakama. Nishkama is what? Ananya Chinta. Means what? No other thinking. You are not thinking, you are not interested in my security, my this one, that one, and all those things. You go there for God. That's what you should do. If you want to confuse a doctor, walk into his cabin, before he could even ask you anything, ask him, how are you, doctor? You will not know what to do with you then. The only way to psychologically win over a doctor. How are you? He is supposed to ask. Right? We go and ask. That's what these bhaktas were doing. See, they put the Lord to sleep. They give bath to the God. They do alankara to him. And they give back also to him. And they tease him. They fight with him. They scold him. Have you seen a religion where God is scolded? They do all that. Why? Because they are not interested in anything other than the welfare. Gita Govinda, not Gita Govinda, Rasa Krida in Bhagavatam, right? Where Krishna is in the night. Suddenly one night the fellow started playing the flute. Midnight. Full moon. And he got, he couldn't sleep. So he got up and he started playing the flute. And all the ladies, in the village, Vrindavan, came to Krishna's spot. And they started dancing. They come. And this man says, what nonsense you people are doing? Putting me in trouble. Lady, what sort of a lady you are? What sort of a wife are you? He is asking one lady. You have left your husband. She is serving food to him. He heard this music. He left it halfway and she came away. She is better. And another lady is laughing. And he looked at her and said, you are worse than her. Why? You are taking care of aged parents. So left them and you have come. At least aged parent can manage something. The another lady left the baby, infant, left that and you have come. What sort of a people are you? He said, look here, mistake is not ours. It's your mistake. You know all this, no? Yes. Then you should have waited till we finish all that and then started the music. You started the music early, not our fault. Okay, having come, what to do? They all landed in the floor. The pub they have no floor. Everybody jumps. Like that they are all dancing. Suddenly, each one started feeling that, Krishna should dance only with me, not with you. They started fighting. And Krishna disappeared. Disappeared in the sense of hiding somewhere, that's all. Disappeared in the sense not like our movie, where suddenly he'll disappear. And only smoke will come out of that place. Not like that. He ran and hid himself in some place. That is the time they cried. Not that they lost Krishna. Not like the addicted fellow, 21. Not like that. They were enjoying the company of Krishna, they missed that. When they are missing it, they cry. In the cry, they say something so interesting and cry. See, because of our jealous, you don't go and hide yourself in some bush where there could be some thorns. You may run here and there without knowing a direction in the darkness, get hit. So please come out. You see the difference? That's Nishkama Bhakti. Where the focus is on God, not on the fact that we were missing Him. You miss Him means God is a means. For these gopis, Krishna is not a means. Krishna is the end. This is the first one. The second one we say, Ananyas Chintayendo. Now, no other thought other than me. Means in life there is a difference. What is the difference we have always? Our means and end are two different things. They are never the same. We never know a thing in life where the end and the means are one and the same thing. Never happens. I want to enjoy means something else I have to do to get it. Right? So the path is different, the destination is different. But for these people, destination and path same. Another layer. Other person came and added one more layer to it. He says, see, it is not only Ananya Chitta, means no other thinking. There is no thought that something is different. No. Whether even if you include that sadhana and sadhya as one, the sadhaka is different, no? What is this? He says, no. It is sadhaka, sadhana, sadhya, not other. All same. No other thinking. There is no other thinking. Now, no other thinking, first stage is you think of moksha only. You don't think of achievement of arthakama. That is the first understanding, very basic. You start with it. Then you understand what always in life there is a division. What is a division? Sadhana, sadhya division is there. Then the sadhaka is totally different from sadhya. See, here he says no. Here it is, that is also one. So the one who is able to understand this, because see, essentially the mind has an obsession for the end only. Remember, the mind can never be obsessed with any means. Anything that you conceive as a means, right? Are you obsessed with acquisition or you are obsessed with enjoyment? Obsession is towards enjoyment only. Obsession is to get marks. Obsession is to win a tournament. Isn't it? No one has an obsession for practice. Have you ever seen having obsession for practice? If at all a person practices so vigorously, he could do that only because of what? Because he takes this as a means to the end. So even then, his mind is where? In the end alone. To pluck that mind which is obsessed with the end and to plant it on the means, effort, almost impossible. See, it's impossible. What is the effort? The effort is Ananya Chinta. Effort is Ananya Chinta, no other thinking. Then what happens now? Then comes the second line. The second line he says, what happens to those people? Kesham, to them. To whom? To those people who are obsessed with the means. You are obsessed with the end, now where are you? 2021. Anga. Here the obsession is where? Obsession is in the effort, in the prayatna, in the slogging. Motto in life is to strive, struggle, not to succeed. Fascinating idea. How can you keep striving as a motto of life? The motto of life is, yeah, we strive. That's what we tell a child, no, when he is studying. You tell him, look here, you study well now, what will happen? You get a good job and then Maja life. So for me to live a Maja life of another 50 years, this 20 years of effort is worth. It's a trade-off, isn't it? So your obsession is where? Your obsession is never in the struggle, in the effort, in the working, in slogging. It says, Ananyas Chintayanto. They don't have any other thought other than me. Me here is what? Effort. They have no other thought other than the effort. Why? You need a strong intellect to understand this and stay with it. Because mind is that which has a tendency to slip into end. Right? He says, now here is a person who is not bothered about the end at all and he is working only with reference to slogging. Slogging also what? Not to achieve anything, arthakama. Nothing to do with the world, nothing to do with the heavenly pleasures of life, nothing of that sort. Then what is he asking for? All that he is asking is what? I am not interested in any one of this. Right? Now he says that. Now immediately, now comes the position of God. Next line, he says, now what is the position God going to take? Second line, Desham, to them. To them what I am going to do? To those people, Nityabhiyuktanam, Yoga, Kshemam, Ahamya. Nitya Abhiman. They are seeking me. Ever, always. Always they have been seeking what? Yukta. They are interested only in the union with the self. Right? To those people, what do? There, God takes a position. To those people, what? I grant. What do I grant? Those guys. I give them ahami, aham. I give them, I grant them. I provide those people. What do I provide them? Yoga and Kshema. Yoga and Kshema. These two things I give. What are the two? Yoga. Yoga and Kshema again has different ways of interpreting it. Okay. Easiest way of understanding is, what does he give then? What he grants versus what you acquire. There is a difference. If you acquire, it is temporary, heaven, which is temporary. When he grants, what is it? Permanent. There's a difference. If you acquire, you snatch it. Temporarily you can enjoy, but it will be snatched away from you. But when something is granted by him, that will stay with you forever. That will not go away. So what are the things? What is that he will grant? He says, I'll give you two things. What are the two things? Yoga, Kshema. First one, Yoga, Kshema, very, very ordinary way of understanding is peace and prosperity. Very, very simple interpretation of Yoga, Kshema is, will give you, that's what we say, introduction to Vedanta. Knowledge of Vedanta will give you peace. There is a group of people in the world who are active, dynamic, prosperous. No peace. Western side. Eastern part of the world is not dynamic. Why? They are not active, but they are very peaceful. And no prosperity. Is there a possibility where you can combine peace and prosperity? What should I do for that? Ananya Chintayento Ma. Then what will happen? He will grant it to you. If you think that you are going to be acquiring peace and prosperity, not possible. Peace and prosperity should be granted. That's the difference. Kubera did tremendous tapas. And after a lot of tapas, he was granted a boon. He asked, what did he ask? I should be the richest man. All time. We are changing. Suddenly they say Warren Buffett, suddenly they say this fellow, suddenly they say that fellow. It goes on changing. See, all time, till the end of this kalpa, who should be the richest? Kubera. Granted. And then this kalpa was going on, and then suddenly in Dwapara Yuga, this fellow came, Krishna. And this fellow had a friend by name Sudama. Right? Poverty to the core. They have forgotten how rice would be. That is the condition of their kids. They have been having only porridge. They have not had, curd rice. Curd rice along Majjige rice. Rice, they have forgotten rice. That sort of a poverty. And that fellow goes to meet Krishna. Right? And when he goes, he carries a handful of rice. Why? Because Krishna likes. Carries. From his village to Dwarka. Padayatra. Go by walk. Walk and reach. And in the palace, security guard was standing. He goes and tells the security guard, I have come to meet Krishna. The fellow looks up and down. कौन है तुम? बड़ा friend है. He says, for Krishna. Kannaya. He said, no, that fellow is my friend. He said, yeah, we know. And he has lot of friends. Like you, lot of friends he has, and he is friend to me also. What do you want? Oh, I come to meet him. Appointment? In the appointment. And this conversation was going on, and Krishna sees that from the balcony. Balcony he sees. And Rukmini is standing there and she is giving him tampula. He just now finished his lunch. Giving him, tampula. He flung that one and he ran. And she couldn't understand what happened to this man. Suddenly he started running. And she ran behind him. And he came running. And without any notice, he jumped on Sudama. Poor fellow. Imagine Krishna pounces on you. What will you do? He went off balance and both of them were rolling the crowd. And he got up and started punching Sudama. And he was, trying to duck, and where is a chance? Punching and doing this and that, and we thought some new demon has come, the form of a Brahmin, Finally they get up and he takes them, and the security fellows were scared. Because they had never seen Krishna doing something like that, not heard of. Entire Bhagavatam you wouldn't have heard of a single line apart from the scene where he comes. In fact, this Sudama's episode, this portion, the portion when Sukha Brahma Rishi is the one who is teaching. This portion, when he is about to start, he just thought of Sudama. Because before you speak, thought comes, First, this Sukha Brahma got the thought of Sudama and went into Samadhi. Suddenly he got silent. Now, story should continue, no? Krishna is sitting there and listening to the story, and this man has already got into deep Samadhi. Now, what to do now? Krishna has to enter into teleporting, or I don't know what you call that is. He entered into his body, and in the voice of Sukha, Krishna was speaking. The episode of who? Sudama. You can imagine. When Sukha Brahma can get inspired by the thought of Sudama, what should be the caliber of Sudama? Even when he is talking about Krishna, Rasa Krida, Rasa Leela, Kalinga, Nardana, this, nothing happened to him. He was objective. That objectivity he could maintain when he is speaking about everything. But if Sukha Brahma were to lose his objectivity with the thought of Sudama, and the way we portray Sudama is a comedian. The tragedy of life. And Sudama was going in and he was fed and he was staying with Krishna for 3 days. Maja life. Finally asked him, right, what is Sushila Shetty? Said me. He asks. Mark, Krishna has never met. That is Sudama's wife. Sudama's wife has never met Krishna. And this man, leading question. It's actually leading question he is asking. Is there? What has he said for me? Because he knows this guy will not bring anything. Wife only will pack something and give. Very simple. He takes that and gives him. Cherishing, he's eating. Enjoying that, what a taste, what a taste. And this Satyabhama, Rukmini Satyabhama, they snatched. Who won't taste that? Let me also. They also started eating. I enjoyed. And then Sudama said, bye. He came back. He came back, he couldn't believe his street. When he entered the street, you recognize, houses. Suddenly he saw one big palace there. And the kids were all coming out like with so much of pushti, so much of strength, and so much of vigor they have. How is it possible? Suddenly his wife also comes out. He says, I've seen you somewhere. She says, I'm your wife. He says, oh, good. How you got all this? I don't know. Suddenly all that came. Must be Krishna's, gift only. Got it. Then, Narada is there, no? He can't keep quiet. This fellow. Straight Narada went to Kubera. He said, hey, you got a boon, no? Yes. What is the boon? Riches. There is another fellow who has become richer than you. Right? Your boon is become invalid now. The contract is invalid, new contract is signed. Kubera, what? Who is that? Yes, Sudama, there's a fellow in India by name Sudama. Oh, he has become richer than you. How is it possible? Not allowed. No. I will go and confiscate all his properties. And this fellow, Kubera, has come with all his army to confiscate. This one. And Sudama is sitting there. He says, I'm taking all this. He says, yeah, take. Yes. And then this fellow comes and he says, hey, that you have missed. There is one inside also. There is one Ratna is there inside. I think that is far more valuable than all this. Take that also. And Kubera couldn't understand. Is this guy off case or it is normal? Then suddenly, the neighbor comes and starts protesting. Yes, the neighbor comes and protests. Hey, how dare you come and harvest all his wealth, Krishna has given him all this. If you have a problem, go and ask him. Why are you asking? Why are you harassing this man? That fellow has nothing doing. I will take the whole thing. And now the neighbor is not allowing this fellow to take the wealth. Sudama goes and catches hold of that neighbor and tells Kubera, don't worry, I'll handle this guy, you take it. The neighbor says, confirm now. I know, I've been hearing the story that you are off case. It's confirmed. I have come to support you. You are stopping me. Sudama says, you are a fool, that fellow is a fool. Right? If he takes this also, I don't care. Why? I have the perennial source. Right? That source is always there for me. Right? Even if he takes the whole thing, one thing that guy will never be able to get. That is Krishna as my friend. He will take. When he is there, what is my problem? That is the time Kubera realizes that neighbor is Krishna. Standing there. And the fellow says, you are confiscating what I have offered. Huh? No, Brahma, call that Brahma. Overrule. Exception to the rule. What is the exception? Sudama is an exception to the rule of Brahma. Yoga Kshemam Vaham. I grant it. His story, philosophy, a last story. Story in the sense, so inspiring. If you have that closeness, if you have that thought, no other thought of God, nothing else other than Brahman, then what you get? You get Yoga Kshema. Very basic one is peace, prosperity. Both are material, both are worldly. Then they say, no. Yoga Kshema is not that. Yoga and Kshema means he gives you peace and prosperity together as Kshema. As yoga, he gives the spiritual union. So what do you get? What he grants, what you get is spiritual well-being plus material acquisition and enjoyment. Peace, prosperity plus spiritual evolution also. So evolution plus peace plus prosperity. Nalla deal. Very good deal that is. That's what the lady Avaya says. Palu, Telithenu, Ahum, Paruppum, Tamil. இவை நான்கும் கலந்துனக்கு நான் தருவேன் கோலம் செய் துங்கக் கரிமுகத்து தூமணியே நீ எனக்கு சங்கத்தமிழ் மூன்றும் தான். What I will give you, she says, I'll give you 4 things. Paal, Ten, Paal, Parup. Paal means milk. Ten, all of you know, honey. Paal means what? Jaggery. Parup is dal. All this I mix and give you. 4 things I am mixing and giving you, okay? All that you have to give me is only 3 things you give me. That's enough. Nalla deal. Why? I am giving you 4, you give me 3 only. Right? Who is getting? You are gaining 1 more extra, no? He says. That's how she fools Ganesha. This is a child, no? She says that fellow will not know those things. Balaswami, no, that guy. Ganesha is a child. Easy to give. I give you 3, you give me. I give you 4, you give me 3. But what you should give me? You should give me 3 things. What are the 3 she asks is Sanga Tamil Moondrunda. Moondu Tamil means in that proficiency you have 3 things. One is literature, prose. Second one is poetry. Third one is theatrical, play. See, you should have that proficiency in all 3. That is where you are a real scholar. He says, you give me these 3, what I'll give you? 4 things I'll give you. Now here, it is what? I think of you, 1. But what I get? 2. Buy 1, get 2 free. You pay for one, you get two things for free. In fact, the two is not two, it is actually three. What is that? Spiritual evolution plus peace plus prosperity. The deal again. That is what Ananya Chintayanto Yejana Pariyupasate Yesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vaha. It's a central verse. Why this is a central verse? Not geometrically, please. It is central verse because this is the verse that defines what the student is supposed to do and what the master gives. What the Bhakta does, what the Bhagavan does. What is given by Bhagavan and what is offered by the Bhakta. Bhakta offers Ananya Chintan. Bhagavan provides Yogakshema.